Hello everyone, it's been a minute. Things have changed a lot since I've been away. Cheats are stronger, bots are more rampant than ever, and things in general are just a bit different. I'm going to be walking you through some of the ways cheats have changed, as well as introducing you to some of the new features to look out for. Let's get started. Let's begin with Silent Aim. In the past, Silent Aim used to allow cheaters to completely mask their aimbot to themselves and spectators. Thanks to an update from Valve, though, this is no longer possible on hit-scan weapons, forcing the aimbot to reveal where it's aiming if it's shooting. With single-shot weapons, this flicks the cheater's aim to the enemy before snapping it back in about 1/6 of a second. While this flick is still hidden for the cheater, spectators can spot rapid twitches as the aimbot activates. Due to the nature of now having to aim where you're shooting, Silent Aim essentially doesn't work on automatic weapons. The cheat is forced to continuously flick to the enemy, which results in a dead giveaway. Projectile weapons, on the other hand, still work with Silent Aim. Examples include flamethrowers, rocket launchers, and throwables. However, due to the easy-to-observe nature of projectiles combined with simple aimbot calculations, a silent projectile aimbot can be easily spotted as rockets fire at random angles or pipes get launched at 50% further up from the cheater's aim. Here are a few examples. If you suspect someone of using a projectile aimbot, strafe quickly. An aimbot has a difficult time predicting movement, as the best it can do is fire along a player's expected trajectory without taking any human interaction into account. The cheat's just a program and doesn't have the intuition that a regular player would have. There's also Slow Aim, a mode that I've not talked about before on Spot the Hacker. Instead of masking the aimbot, Slow Aim guides the cheater's crosshair to an enemy based on several configurable variables. It comes in a few different flavors, but generally works by having the cheater set their aim FOV, which restricts the aimbot to only function within a range around the crosshair. It's then frequently combined with an aim key that toggles the aimbot rather than having it function at all times. If the aimbot is active and an enemy is within FOV, the aimbot will move the cheater's crosshair towards the enemy. At that point, the cheater can shoot manually or automatically. This can be more difficult to detect, especially when combined with a trigger bot, a function that automatically shoots whenever the cheater aims at an enemy. Like aimbots, the trigger bot can be configured with a toggle key. Here's a typical example of a trigger bot. Notice how the cheater will do multiple swipes and flicks, only firing when a shot will kill. Another common tell is if they miss their flicks and end up not shooting at all. This can be a good sign that someone is using a trigger bot, as any legitimate sniper would be attempting to take the shots. An unfortunate byproduct of spectating is that your view of the game is slightly different than what other players see. Due to lag compensation, you'll see a person's aim slightly behind where it actually is on their side. I'll be going more in depth about lag compensation and manipulation in a future video, but keep this in mind for now. If improperly used, Slow Aim can over-assist to the point where the cheater's aim locks onto their targets. Pretty obvious, as it merely looks like an aimbot with no obfuscation. Finally, there's Assistance. Assistance is almost always joined by an aim key and only activates when you are actively moving your mouse. This effectively only lets the cheater's aim move towards an enemy and attempts to counter any other directions. This mode is challenging to spot, but thankfully is arguably the least powerful version. With all this combined, and without the telltale flick of Silent Aim, the aimbot can disguise itself as legitimate aiming. Here are a few examples of the different modes. See if you can figure out which one's which. Now let's move on to bots. They're still pretty similar to how they've always existed, as most every one of them uses the same base, the cat hook. Cat hook is open source, so over time we've started to see variations between the bots. The former cheater and bot hoster One Trick, who now goes by Vinyls, has stopped cheating and graciously provided these exclusive views into what hosting bots looks like. The process of setting up bots calls for installing a pre-made version of Linux. VAC is unable to detect cheats on Linux due to a lack of permissions compared to Windows, which doesn't allow VAC to accurately monitor other programs that might be affecting the game. After installing the cheat, Steam, and TF2, it's just a matter of creating accounts and choosing how the bots operate. Once everything's installed and ready, cheaters have access to a control panel where they can command their bots. The program creates multiple instances of TF2 and controls each bot individually. It takes a good CPU and about 700 megabytes of RAM per bot, so an average computer with 8 gigs of RAM could theoretically run about 10 bots without instability. If there are more bots than the system can handle, each bot's performance and reaction times will degrade. To traverse maps, they use nav meshes, which you can see visualized here. It's a more coarse implementation of how regular TF2 bots move, with fewer optimizations to mimic human behavior. There's a full suite of movement options, including the ability for the bot to automatically collect health and ammo when needed. Bots have the ability to play the objective too, but the majority of hosters only care about simple kills. Other settings include the option to ignore taunting or crouching enemies. Another option is to automatically vote no on vote kicks, which means if enough bots are in a server and use this, they can effectively make themselves immune to kicking, as the game requires a majority to pass votes. If this happens, you should leave the server. Because the bots are fully automated, they'll join servers until they're instructed to stop. To be clear, there's never anyone directly controlling the bots, so insulting them will have little effect. Bots do have the ability to relay in-game chat messages to a private IRC channel, which hosters use to see the trouble they're causing. All the more reason not to give them the satisfaction. If you ever spot a bot in your team, just vote kick it. The TF2 community's grown very familiar with the bots, to the point where most teams will remove a bot the moment a vote kick is called. If there's a bot in the enemy team, simply ask them to vote kick their bot. You can fight them easily enough by using the vaccinator and a competent sniper, but just know, a bot's never gonna rage quit. Pazer has made a brilliant tool that will automatically attempt to vote kick any bots on your team. Link below if you're interested. Now for something brand new. Check this out. What you're seeing is a feature called Warp. Warp allows for the ability to, in a sense, store movement packets and release them on command. Movement packets are the function by which your game client communicates with the server how and where you're moving. The cheat restricts some of these packets, forcing the server to lag compensate those lost packets. But unfortunately, due to how TF2 is coded, these lost packets have no expiration time limit to reach the server. Once the warp is charged and activated, the cheat forges up to 22 movement packets, warping the player a short distance. However, once they're used, the cheat needs to recharge by restricting more movement packets, leading to a slight bit of stutter step for the cheater. Here's an example of what I believe to be a cheater using Warp against Lazy Purple in his Demo Man Extras video.
Only a few spies have ever even concerned me, this power level 9000 spy being one of them.
They vanished!
Nonsense! They're just moving very fast, trying to feel out their energies.
If you ever spot a player performing short-distance, reality-bending teleportations seemingly upon their command, chances are they're cheating. Finally, crit hacks. The new variation of crit hacks have been around for a few years, and I even mentioned them in a previous Spot the Hacker, but I wanted to go more in depth on them today. TF2's random crit system works by having a player fill up a bucket by shooting. If the bucket is filled enough, your client will randomly roll for a crit on each shot fired. If a roll is successful and a crit is applied, the bucket is emptied a certain amount and the process repeats. Due to this being a client-side process, though, cheats can regulate the activation of these crits by preventing the successful crit chance request from being sent, holding crits indefinitely. Once the cheater toggles on the crit hack, the cheat requests a crit, allowing the cheater to crit on command. It should be noted that this only works on weapons that can randomly crit, as no-crit weapons obviously prevent crit. As I mentioned, the more shots and damage a player does, the more their crit bucket fills up. If the bucket isn't sufficiently filled though, a crit is impossible. Because of this, you can see cheaters firing their weapons for seemingly no reason. In reality, they're contributing more shots to their bucket to, in turn, request more crits. Interestingly, servers have limitations on critical rates. If a cheater deals too much crit damage in a period of time, the server prevents the cheater from getting more crits by requiring them to reach a certain amount of non-crit damage before allowing more. The crit bucket is preserved between lives, but will reset if the cheater changes their loadout or switches classes. If you're facing a suspected crit cheater, try running the battalion's backup to resist crits, or simply use the vaccinator. And lastly, a test. I'm going to show you some clips of a suspected cheater. See if you can spot anything suspicious. So, do you think they're cheating? Leave your thoughts in the comments or discuss it in my Discord server at discord.gg/maxbox. If Discord's not your thing though, I'll still be responding in the comments. Before I go, I've got a birthday charity stream coming up in a few days. I'm calling it Box Rewind, and we'll be rewatching all of my older videos from the original Pyro commentary to Escape from Hell. It's gonna take like 16 hours. There will even be various donation goals along the way to unlock my original private videos. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see ya. Hey, you guys remember this song? I got it licensed, so I actually own it now. See you next time.